She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Don't call me your wife in front of people. I'm your girlfriend." Then she smiled like it was a cute joke, and I realized she wasn't joking at all. Hey friends, please subscribe and turn on notifications, like this video, and leave a comment with your impressions. This will be a great help. Thank you. We never tire of reminding you. It's all thanks to you. My name is Mark. I'm 30 now, and when this started I was 29, living with my wife, Emily, in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was 34. We'd been married a little over 4 years, heading toward 5. Not we tolerate each other married. Not roommates with a mortgage married. We were genuinely good. We laughed. We cooked together. We still went on little weekend trips. Our friends used us as the example couple when someone in the group was fighting with their partner. If you asked me last spring, I would have told you the only thing we argued about was my habit of leaving cabinet doors open and her obsession with throwing out perfectly good leftovers on day 3. The wedding itself was, honestly, it was more Emily's dream than mine. I wanted to be married to her. She wanted the whole production. Venue in the mountains, a photographer who had to be booked a year out, a custom cake, live music, the works. I remember standing in a tux, watching her walk toward me and thinking, this is it. This is the life. We didn't pay cash. We financed part of it because we were young, we were optimistic, and everyone around us said, you only do it once. Every month, a payment went out for the last chunk of that wedding bill, like a little reminder in my banking app that yes, it happened, yes, it was real, yes, we signed the papers and we meant it. Emily used to look back on wedding photos like they were warm bread. She'd point at the centerpieces and tell me why she chose them. She'd laugh at her cousin's terrible dance moves. She'd squeeze my arm and say, I can't believe we pulled it off. So when the first girlfriend comment happened, I truly thought it was nothing. It was early February. We were in a drugstore picking up Valentine's cards because we're that kind of couple, last minute, standing in the aisle reading cheesy poems and making fun of them. I grabbed a card that said something like to my wife, and Emily reached over, took it out of my hand, and slid it back into the rack like it offended her. Get me a girlfriend one, she said. I laughed. You want me to demote you? She shrugged like it was obvious. Wife sounds old, girlfriend sounds cute. She said it in this light voice, and her eyes were playful, so I played along. I found a card that said, to my girlfriend, and she nodded like I'd done a good job. At dinner that night, she called me her boyfriend when she told a story about our first date. Again, it sounded like a joke. I raised an eyebrow, she grinned, and I figured we were doing a bit. Couples have weird little bits. But it didn't stop. Over the next few weeks, she corrected me in small ways. If I said my wife, she'd lightly touch my arm and say, girlfriend, like she was reminding me of a word I forgot. If I introduced her as my wife to someone new, she'd jump in fast, too fast, and say, we're not like that, just dating, with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. I started to feel that weird itch you get when something is off but you can't prove it, like hearing a smoke alarm chirp once in the middle of the night and then never again. Then she stopped wearing her wedding ring. It happened in March. We were brushing our teeth and I noticed her hand was bare. I stared for a second, waiting for her to say something. She didn't. She spit, rinsed, and walked out like nothing changed. Hey, I said calm, because panic never helps. Where's your ring? She paused in the doorway like she had to search for the answer. I don't know, in my jewelry box. You've worn it every day for 4 years. She shrugged. I don't like the sensation. Rings bother me. Emily never loved jewelry, that part was true. She didn't wear bracelets. Necklaces were occasional, but the wedding ring was the exception. It was the symbol. It was the one thing she seemed proud of. I tried not to make it a courtroom scene. I said, okay, but it matters to me. Can we talk about it? She walked back into the bathroom, leaned against the counter, and kissed my cheek like she was soothing a child. Nothing's wrong. I love you. It's just a ring. And for a few days, I tried to accept that. I told myself it was sensory, that I was overthinking, that everyone on earth reads too many stories online and sees betrayal in every shadow. But her behavior got sharper in public. The first time it turned truly uncomfortable was at a friend's house in April. Our friends Jenna and Luke were hosting a cookout. People were milling around, beer in hand, music in the background. Someone asked me how work was going, and I said, it's good. My wife's been helping me prep for this presentation I've got next week. Emily was standing right there, holding a plate. She snapped her head toward me. Girlfriend, she said, loud enough that 2 other people heard it. I laughed, but it sounded wrong. Right, sorry, my girlfriend. Jenna gave me a look like, "What is that?" Emily smiled too hard and went back to the kitchen. On the drive home, I tried again. What is going on with this? You keep correcting me." She stared out the passenger window. "I don't like the word wife." "Why?" "It feels heavy, like expectations." "Expectations of what?" She sighed like I was exhausting, of being a certain kind of person, of being trapped. That word trapped stuck to my ribs. "We're trapped," I asked, keeping my tone steady. "You feel trapped with me." She turned her head and looked at me like I'd accused her of something cruel. "No, not with you, just the label." I didn't press harder in the car. I've learned that conversations in moving vehicles become fights because nobody can exit. I waited until we got home, until we were in the quiet of our kitchen. I made tea. I sat across from her. "Emily," I said, "I need you to level with me. Are you unhappy in this marriage?" She picked at the paper tag on the tea bag. "I'm happy." "Then why are you acting like we aren't married?" She smiled a small, tired smile. "I'm not acting like that. I'm just choosing language that feels better." "Language matters," I said. "You're correcting me in front of people. It makes it seem like I'm lying." Her eyes narrowed, "So don't say it wrong." That's when I felt the first real flicker of anger, not explosion anger, something colder, the kind that makes you sit up straighter. "I'm not saying it wrong," I said. "We are married." She went quiet, and for a moment I thought she might finally tell me the truth. Instead, she stood up, took her mug, and said, "I'm tired. Good night." In May, our friends started talking about weddings more, because Luke's brother had just gotten engaged. One night we were at a little brewery in South End, sitting at a long table. Luke's brother's fiancée was excited and nervous and asked Emily about planning. Emily had planned ours. She had spreadsheets, vendor lists. She used to be proud of it. So when the fiancé asked, "How did you pick your venue?" I expected Emily to give advice. Emily blinked, then laughed like she didn't understand the question. "What wedding?" she said. The table went quiet in that instant way it does when everyone realizes something isn't a joke. The fiancé laughed uncertainly. "Your wedding, with Mark, the mountain one, the string lights." Emily's face did something I can't fully describe. Her smile faltered. Her eyes got shiny. It was like a door inside her slammed shut. She stood up so quickly her chair scraped. "I need air," she said, and she walked outside. Everyone looked at me. I didn't turn it into a scene. I just stood, nodded, and followed her out. She was around the corner, near the side of the building, arms crossed tight, breathing too fast. "Hey," I said softly, "talk to me." She didn't look at me. "Can we not do this right now?" "Emily, you just said, 'What wedding?' and ran outside in tears." She wiped her face like she was angry at the tears for existing. "I didn't mean anything. I'm fine." "You're not fine." She finally looked at me, and there was something in her expression I'd never seen before. Not hatred, not sadness, fear. "I don't want to be a wife," she said, like she was confessing a crime. I stayed calm. My voice was steady on purpose. "Okay, then what do you want?" "I want to be with you," she said. "I just don't want that word." I could have argued, I could have listed facts, a ring, a certificate, a joint mortgage, a wedding bill still being paid, but facts don't solve whatever was happening in her head. So I asked the practical question. "Are you asking for a divorce?" I said. Her eyes widened. "No, why would you jump there?" "Because you're rejecting the marriage," I said. "That's not a small thing." She shook her head hard. "No, I love you. I don't want to leave you." Then she reached up and held my hand like she was grounding herself. "Please don't make it into something it's not." On the ride home, she leaned her head on my shoulder and talked about mundane things, a new coffee place she wanted to try, a show she wanted to watch, like the "what wedding" moment never happened. That night, she initiated sex like she was trying to reset us. She kissed me like she was proving something. I didn't reject her, but I felt off, like my body was present and my brain was standing outside watching. The next week, she brought up kids. We'd been talking about it for months. We agreed to start trying later that year. Now she was looking at baby names on her phone, smiling, calling me over to see. Then she said casually, "We should get matching tattoos too, like something small, a little renewal." I stared at her, a renewal of what? She laughed like I was being silly, of us. My mind went straight to the simplest thought. You don't renew something you're refusing to name. That's when I decided I needed clarity more than comfort. On June 2, 2020, I asked her to sit down with me after dinner. I turned off the TV. I put my phone face down. I made it feel serious without feeling like an ambush. I'm not doing tattoos, I said, and I'm not talking about kids until we solve this. Her smile fell. Solve what? This thing, I said, careful, the way you act like we're not married. She rolled her eyes, and that hurt more than it should have. You're obsessed. I'm grounded, I said, and I'm paying a monthly bill for a wedding you pretend didn't happen. That landed. I saw it land. Her face tightened. I said I don't like the label, she snapped. Then tell me why, I said. Real answer, no vague expectations. Why does wife make you cry? She stood up, paced 2 steps, and then said, because it makes me feel like I chose a path I can't change. I kept my voice low. You can change any path, but you don't get to rewrite reality without involving me. She stared at me, breathing hard. I'm not rewriting anything. Yes, you are, I said. You're correcting me in public. You're refusing the ring. You're denying the wedding happened. That's not just a preference. That's something else. She looked away. You wouldn't understand. That phrase again, like a wall. I'll understand if you explain, I said, and if you can't explain, then we need help. She flinched at the word help. Therapy. Therapy, I said, or a doctor, or both. Something is going on. Her eyes flashed with indignation. So now I'm crazy. I didn't say that, I said. I said something is going on because it is. She crossed her arms. I'm not talking to a therapist. I nodded like I'd expected it. Then we need a different plan. What plan? She said, defensive. A plan where I protect myself, I said calmly, because I can't live with someone who denies our marriage in public. That's when she said something that chilled me. Why does it matter so much? She asked. It's just a word. I looked at her and said the truth, because if it's just a word, you wouldn't be fighting this hard. She didn't answer. The next few days were a quiet standoff, not silent treatment exactly. We talked about groceries and work and the weather, but every meaningful subject was a locked door. Then something happened that snapped the whole situation into focus. On June 12, I ran into one of Emily's coworkers at a grocery store near Uptown. I didn't know him well. I'd seen him at a company holiday party once. His name was Tyler, and he was the kind of guy who always looked like he'd just left a gym. He spotted me near the produce and smiled like he recognized me but wasn't sure. Hey, he said, Mark, right? Yeah, I said, polite, Tyler. Yeah, he said, then laughed. Small world, Emily talks about you. Hopefully good things, I said. He grinned. I mean, she seems happy. You two still dating? The word hit my ears like a wrong note. I didn't correct him instantly. I just watched his face. Married, I said calmly. We've been married 4 years. His smile faltered just for a second, then he recovered. Oh, wow, I didn't realize. It's okay, I said, because I wasn't going to embarrass him. People get mixed up. He nodded too fast. Yeah, for sure. Well, tell her I said hi. He walked away, and I stood there holding a bag of apples like my hands forgot how to function. Emily wasn't just doing this around our friends. She was doing it at work. That explained the urgency, the corrections, the emotional reaction when someone brought up the wedding. If she'd been presenting herself as unmarried, then the wedding wasn't a cute memory. It was a threat to her story. That night I didn't accuse. I asked one clean question. Does your office think we're married? I said, while she was scrolling on her phone on the couch. She didn't look up. What? I ran into Tyler today, I said. He asked if we were still dating. Her thumb stopped moving. She kept staring at the screen. That's weird, she said. Is it? I asked. She finally looked at me. Why are you talking to my coworkers? I ran into him at the store, I said. I didn't seek him out. She nodded slowly, like she was calculating. he probably just doesn't pay attention. Or, I said gently, or you told people you're not married. Her eyes went hard. I didn't tell anyone that. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply said, okay. And then I stood up and went to the kitchen and washed dishes that were already clean, because I needed my hands to do something while my brain adjusted to the lie. The next day I checked something I had every right to check, our shared credit card statement. We used it for groceries, gas, joint expenses. It wasn't snooping, it was our account. There was a charge I didn't recognize, a consultation fee at a law office in Charlotte, not a huge amount, but enough to have a label next to it. I didn't confront her in a rage. I waited until she came home, until she took off her shoes, until she was in the kitchen pouring water. Hey, I said, and my voice was calm enough to be almost gentle. What's the charge from Anderson and Cole Law on the statement? She froze with the glass halfway full. It's nothing, she said quickly. It's a consultation fee, I said. For what? Her eyes darted. Jenna needed help with something. She asked me to pay it and she'll reimburse. I nodded slowly. Okay, I'll ask Jenna. Her face changed, not anger, panic. Don't, she said. Why not? I asked. Because now it was obvious. Jenna and I are close. If Jenna needed legal help, she'd tell me. Emily knew that. Emily also knew a lie that big collapses with one phone call. Emily put the glass down and her shoulders sagged. Fine, she whispered. It was for me. I didn't move, I didn't shout. I just asked, for what? She swallowed. I wanted to know what my options were. Options for what? I asked, even though my stomach already knew. She stared at the counter, for if I wanted to change things. I waited. Silence does work if you can tolerate it. Finally, she said, I've been feeling restless, and everyone at work treats married women like they're already halfway out the door, like the next step is kids and then you're not serious anymore. I nodded once, so you told them you're not married. She didn't answer, which was an answer. And you're correcting me in public, I said, because you've built a story where you're just dating. Her lips trembled. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I asked the question that mattered most. Emily, are you trying to leave me? She shook her head quickly. No, I love you. I swear I love you. Then why did you talk to a lawyer? I asked. She finally looked at me and her eyes were wet, because I don't know what I want and I'm scared, and it felt easier to pretend, like if I could just be a girlfriend again, everything would feel lighter. That's not how marriage works, I said quietly. I know, she whispered. I know, I hate myself for it. I believed she felt shame. I believed she felt fear. But love doesn't erase the reality that she'd been minimizing our marriage to other people. And there was one piece I still didn't have. Is there someone else? I asked, steady, not accusatory, just direct. She flinched. No. I held her gaze. Emily. She looked away. There's no one I'm with. That's not what I asked, I said. Silence. Then she said, barely audible, there's someone I liked, at work. It was stupid. I nodded slowly, and he thought you were single. She didn't deny it. I took a breath. My chest felt tight, but my voice stayed even. So you were protecting the possibility. Her shoulders collapsed like I'd pulled a support beam. I didn't do anything, she said quickly. I never touched him. I never went anywhere. It was just attention. It felt nice to be seen like that. I stared at the wedding photo on our wall, the two of us smiling like we were invincible. I thought about the monthly payment that still left our account, the ring in her jewelry box, the friends who watched her tear up and walk out like the word wedding was poison. Here's what we're going to do, I said. She looked up, hopeful, like I was about to save us with one sentence. We're not getting tattoos, I said. We're not trying for kids, and we're going to couples counseling. If you refuse, then we separate. Her eyes widened, marked. I held up a hand calm. No threats, no drama, just clarity. You don't get to keep me as your husband at home and erase me as your husband everywhere else. Tears spilled down her face. I'm sorry. I'm sure you are, I said, and it wasn't cruel. It was factual, but I still have to live in reality. The next 2 weeks were the hardest kind of quiet. Emily agreed to counseling, but she kept trying to soften the situation with affection, extra hugs, extra compliments, making my favorite meals. It was like she thought if she loved me hard enough, the damage would reverse. Our first counseling session was on June 29, 2020. The therapist was a woman in her 50s with a calm voice and the kind of office that smelled like tea. The therapist asked Emily why she hated the word wife, and Emily broke down in a way I'd never seen. She talked about watching her mother get divorced twice. She talked about how marriage felt like a cage growing up. She talked about work pressure, how younger coworkers acted like being married meant you were boring, predictable, finished. She admitted she'd liked the attention from the guy at work because it made her feel new again. The therapist asked, "Do you want to be married to Mark?" Emily hesitated. That hesitation told me more than any confession could. She said, "I don't want to lose him." The therapist nodded. "That's not the same question." Emily cried harder. On the drive home, I didn't speak much. I just drove, hands steady on the wheel, eyes on the road. Emily sniffled and stared out the window. When we got home, she said, "I can fix this." I looked at her and said the truth. "You can't fix it alone." She nodded, wiping her face. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to stop pretending," I said. "Anywhere, with anyone. If you're married, be married. If you don't want that, then we make a different decision." She whispered, "Okay." For a week she tried. She wore the ring again for 2 days, then took it off and claimed it bothered her. She told me she corrected herself at work once, but then said it felt awkward. She started asking me if I'd be open to something less traditional, like a long-term partnership without legal stuff. That was the moment I realized she wanted the benefits of marriage without the commitment of it. I didn't punish her. I didn't insult her. I simply moved into the guest room on July 10. Emily stood in the doorway, shocked. "Are you leaving me?" "I'm giving us space," I said, "and I'm protecting myself." She cried, "You're my husband." I looked at her and I felt something inside me settle. "Say that again." She blinked. "What?" "Say it again," I said calmly. She swallowed. "You're my husband." I nodded once. "Good, because you haven't said that in months." She started to say something, then stopped. 2 days later, I met with an attorney, not to punish her, but to understand my options. I didn't hide it. I told her I was going. I told her why. I told her the date and time. I kept it clean. I started separating finances in small, lawful ways. Direct deposit into my own account. A plan to refinance if needed, not as revenge, as preparation, because uncertainty is expensive. Emily asked me to come back into our room. I said no, not yet. In counseling, she admitted she'd changed her social media to remove "married." She admitted she'd enjoyed the power of being seen as unavailable, but not taken. She admitted she liked the idea of being pursued without consequences. The therapist asked her to consider what she was actually asking for. Emily didn't want to be single. She didn't want to be fully married. She wanted to live in a space where she could feel free while someone else stayed loyal and steady. That's not a partnership, that's a safety net. On August 3, 2020, after another session where she tried to describe marriage as just paperwork, I told her my decision. "We can either be married for real," I said, "or we can stop being married." Her face twisted. "So you're divorcing me?" "I'm offering you a choice," I said, "and I'm not going to beg you to pick me." She looked at me like she'd never heard me speak that way. I wasn't cold. I was calm, firm, like a man reading terms out loud. She cried and said she would do anything. Then I asked her to do one very simple thing. "Call your coworker," I said, "the one you liked. Tell him you're married and that you've been wrong and you're stepping back." Her face went pale. "Right now." "Within the next 24 hours, I said, "because if you can't do that, then you're still protecting the fantasy." She didn't answer. And that silence was the clearest answer of all. The next morning, I woke up, made coffee, and saw her sitting at the kitchen table with her phone in her hands, staring at it like it was a grenade. She looked up and whispered, "I can't." I didn't argue, I didn't insult her, I just nodded once. "Okay," I said, "then I can." She started crying harder, reaching for me, saying, "Please, please, I love you." I stepped back gently. "You love the comfort of me," I said. "Love doesn't erase me in public." That afternoon, I filed for separation, not because I hated her, because I refused to live in a relationship where my reality was negotiable. Emily moved in with her sister for a while. Our friends were shocked. Some blamed her. Some blamed stress. I didn't campaign. I didn't post online. I simply told people we wanted different things and left it there. The last payment on our wedding bill hit my account that fall. I stared at it for a long time, not because I wanted the money back, because it was the final proof of something she tried to pretend didn't exist. When the papers were finalized months later, Emily asked me if we could still be close. I told her calmly, "I'm not interested in being someone's boyfriend while I do a husband's job." And that was the end. If you've ever been in a situation where someone tries to rewrite the label to avoid the responsibility, tell me what you think. Was this fixable, or was it already over the moment she said, "What wedding?"